boys and girls, tie-in time is here. That's right! It's Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from Camp Crystal Lake or Camp Forest Green. I can't remember, and you know what? After today, it won't matter anyhow. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, and we, of course, are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. We will be unpacking all the gory details of the aforementioned Friday the 13th Part 6 in the hope that a counselor's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we can make about them. And as always, the one person that I plan to help me break out of jail by kissing her in the mouth through the jail bars is the one and only Gina Radcliffe. How you doing, Gina?
Patrick, I cannot believe that we've closed the book or about to close the book so soon on this particular chapter. I feel good. I don't feel exhausted. I don't feel defeated like the last time we came to the end of a chapter. I feel this has been a bonding experience with you. I feel closer rather than resentful that you made me do this with you.
I would hold dear to that feeling, because while the next two are okay-ish, we have some rough roads ahead of us, Radcliffe.
We're going to need some podcast host counseling, I think, after Jason goes to hell, I think.
Who knows? That could turn out to be a secret victory for all we know. Maybe Part 8 will be our undoing, because, they leave on a boat from a lake and then cross an ocean to New York City.
From New Jersey. From
a lake in New Jersey to the port in New York City.
I'm going to have a lot of ranting about geography and how that would work. And New York City itself.
Yeah.
I'm already furiously jotting notes, even though it's going to be 3 months from now, probably.
Thereabouts, yeah. And as always, we are honored to have a special guest with us today. The host of Pet Cinematary, the podcast that explores any movie that features a four-legged, feathered, finned, or furry star. It's the one and only Wendy Mays. Thanks for being here, Wendy.
Hey, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm happier than a hamster spinning around in its wheel to be here. That was a nod to the movie, you guys.
Yes, I know. I was going to say that I feared for the hamster's life a few times.
I feared so much for the hamster's life. I was really worried about it.
I don't remember, but he's not going to grab that hamster and just pop it like a grape, is he? I don't think that's that's too cruel even for Jason.
Yeah. Defenseless creatures, he tends to not, he might menace them, but he's rarely gone off after someone who, is below voting age for the most part.
Yeah, he definitely shows his sensitive side in this particular segment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he does.
He wants to connect. He wants to connect on a deep personal level.
He wants to make the next generation, Jason. That was my theory with the little girl. Anyway, we'll get to it. I'm jumping ahead. Who cares?
Now, Wendy,
yes.
It is a time-honored tradition in the fact that we've only been doing this for a year. But every guest that we have on the podcast, we ask what their first experience was with the Friday the 13th franchise. And what was yours?
Shoot. I don't even know. I'm sure I watched some of them as a kid. Yeah, honestly. Oh, you know what? I think my first one, I remember going to see Jason Takes Manhattan in the movie theaters because my best friend in I want to say 8th grade was originally from New York. So she wanted to go see the New York Jason movie. So I remember going to see that movie actually in the theaters and finding it incredibly dumb and not understanding I was like, what? No. Nobody's noticing this guy walking down the street. I don't care that it's New York.
That's a rough introduction.
Yeah. To this series. Exactly.
Well, we not always get our first choice. It's fine. It's fine. The others are there. It doesn't, they're good ones. This is a better one than Part 8, so.
This one I enjoyed. I enjoyed this one actually a lot. More than I thought I was going to.
Well, that's good. That bodes well. So, at this moment in time, when I because I'd always wanted to have you on the podcast, but I didn't think far enough ahead when I started plotting out guests, because I originally really would have had you on for part 4 when we have a dog on. The dog that senses nudity. I can't remember that dog's name.
Gordon. The dog's name is Gordon. I don't know why I remember that. I don't think I immediately recall any other character's name. I just remember the dog's name is Gordon.
Yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
some controversy as to whether Gordon jumps out of a window or is thrown in the movie.
Oh, no.
Or in fact lives. I don't know that we know. Do we know if he lives at the end?
I think he does live. Yeah, I think that's the second of the fake out dead dogs. So there was one in part 2, I think. Was it the dog?
Yeah, Muffin's
the Muffin.
fake out.
Yeah, Muffin is a fake out.
I know that
there's our another Patreon merchandise. A t-shirt says Muffin is a fake out.
I know that there's a jump scare cat.
Or look
right?
at Muffin through their penis cam, because that's how Jason looks at Muffin.
Through a penis cam?
In part 2, yeah,
Yes.
at the beginning
Okay.
of part 2.
I need
There
to
is a
go back
jump
and
scare
watch
cat
part
in
2, I guess.
Part 2. And, as part of an insane plot by Jason to kill the only survivor of part 1. Yeah, he goes to Hell and Gone with his mother's head in a sack, his own head in a sack, and somehow manages to make his way into her apartment, set up a cat scare, put his mom's head in a refrigerator, and kill this poor girl. And how she doesn't smell him coming from a mile away, we'll never know.
Well, that question could be asked for this
I'm
one
still,
as well.
I'm still trying to pause on how he got there.
Did he hitch a ride on a train like a hobo? Did he ride a bike? Did he steal a car? We see that he has a toilet in his hovel, but that's all he has. He has a toilet without a seat. And the toilet, by the way, Wendy, the toilet has a jump scare.
Wait, really? Oh my god, I really need to go back and watch some of these guys. That's amazing.
The toilet is revealed by a local sheriff, and it gets its own music sting. It announces it as toilet.
Yeah, but that
my
still
God,
gets me
you know-
every time.
There needs
It's
to be
my
more
favorite
toilet
moment. Like
scares.
that episode gets like 0 play. Please go back and listen to some of those part 2 episodes, people. There's some gold in there. We don't have guests, but it's still funny.
Please listen to me laugh hysterically at the word toilet like I'm 9 years old again.
Yeah, and it's a joke that doesn't translate to Instagram, people. You got to listen to that. So as I was saying, we didn't really have this fully planned out, but once I saw that we had hamsters, I'm like, oh, we got to have Wendy on. Like, this is perfect. What I did not realize is that I invited you on to have the actual animal death that occurs in this movie, beyond the roadkill. And that is a bug getting squashed as the prelap from Paula's death.
Yeah, I had actually blocked that out of my memory until you just said that, even though I just watched this movie literally last night. But yeah, I forgot it. And it's a real bug too. You can tell it's getting squashed and you're just like, no.
Yeah, this, no one should be harmed making a movie. I don't care if it's a bug or anything.
I know.
So this is, you can kind of tell that we're going back a ways. This is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I guess you could get away with such a thing with bugs. Today,
Although
that'd be CGI.
Yeah, it would be CGI. I was going to say, I feel like you could still get away with like killing a bug in a movie. Because people, besides me, usually aren't that squeamish about it. They don't care. They would kill the thing as well. But yeah, it'd probably be CGI'd.
I don't think we would repeat another vampire's kiss, though, in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the days of eating bugs is come and gone. At least in movies. TV, people seem to eat bugs constantly.
Well, Fear Factor's
and
coming
if you
back.
barbecue a scorpion, it turns out it's very crunchy.
Ugh.
Yeah, listen, it wasn't the worst thing I ate in Japan.
Wait, you ate a scorpion once?
Oh yeah, a barbecued scorpion. Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine there's much meat on them.
Oh no, it isn't. It's like a crunchy husk.
Oh.
It's like circus peanuts. You can't believe somebody eats it, but that guy must make some money selling them on the street. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there.
That should be their slogan. Just like circus peanuts. Scorpions.
It might scare away the only customers they have.
Circus peanuts.
Like, I was all hungry for a scorpion, and then you said circus peanuts, and it really threw me off. No, thank you. So, yeah, we got a bug squash from Deputy Rick Cologne. I've been calling him Deputy Thornton. That is not true. He's Deputy Rick Cologne, and I don't care. I'm not going to go back and correct it.
I think we've screwed up names so many times. I think it's inadvertently become a running gag.
Yeah, we never promised we were experts ever. We like the movies, and
could probably win a round of bar trivia, but we're not going to be writing definitive encyclopedia of the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh no, I tried to do a horror geek quiz on slasher movies, and 2 of the questions that I got wrong were Friday the 13th related. No. I was like, oh, I remember. I'm not an expert at this. I just like this is an excuse to watch the movies and make jokes about them. So we have Rick, who's doing paperwork, squashing bugs on top of it, and we have Tommy Jarvis 3.0, who's now been ensconced in a jail cell, and we have Megan on the outside doing some artwork. Is this a reference to Alice from part 1 and the beginning of part 2?
Probably. Or they just need to give her something to do.
We've never seen her do artwork before this, though. This isn't a pre-established thing that she's always, sketching people like one of your French girls wearing this, only this.
I have things to say about Megan. I don't know if it's if you want to go ahead and introduce who's left before I do.
Now, the same people who are left are the same people who are left this time. Folks, the body count is Tommy Jarvis 3.0, Megan, Sheriff Garris, Deputy Rick Cologne, and 2 other deputies that we've just been introduced to. One of us is a Greek guy who really likes his hair, and the other is a blonde dude who speaks once to get a SAG card and then is stabbed in the head. Spoiler alert for a movie that came out 31 years ago.
I think at this point in the movie, now we did say that the characters in this are much more likable than the characters in part 5 because they would have to be.
Yes.
But I feel at this point in the game, I have a little trouble with Megan's motivations.
Okay.
Now, obviously, the audience knows that Tommy is not the bad guy, that he is telling the truth. But Megan, leading the cops on a high-speed chase, then pointing a gun at another cop, seems to be motivated solely in her thinking that Tommy is cute. She's all smirking like she's having the time of her life. She's helping this suspected murderer escape from her father. She's all bipping and bopping to that hair metal and while driving him along and acting like she thinks she's in a music video. And it's an adventure. She's on a fun adventure, helping a guy she just met track down a crazed killer who's risen from the dead. And I feel like she has no motivation to help him and put herself in grievous legal trouble. I mean, you pull a gun on a cop, you let alone steal his gun and turn it on him, to help this guy you just met yesterday? I guess the movie is supposed to imply that she just sees something honest in him, or but it's not presented in a believable manner. It just seems like she's really bored and thirsty, and here comes this cute guy strolling into town out of nowhere.
Unfortunately, they don't give her a ton of motivation outside of if her father says the sun comes out during the day and the moon comes out at night in some sort of taming of the shrew like fashion. She disagrees, but that's like it. She is the antithesis of Dad, and Dad has a very definitive idea, so she has the opposite one. And that's also the reason why she is allowed to pull a gun on a deputy, is because she has probably known that deputy since she was 7 years old and can get away with this shit in a certain sense, because anyone else who would have led a known felon and mental patient on a high-speed chase, all while giving us not 1 but 2 views of her crotch, probably would have ended up in a jail cell by now. So at this point, she's got to permanent get out of jail free card. Really, by the end of this night, it's not like Dad's going to be telling her she was wrong anyways. Spoiler alert for Friday the 13th Part 6.
I think she's just into his hotness. And unfortunately, that gets her dad killed.
Yeah, I mean, her dad does
Kind of.
sacrifice himself for her in a way, because Jason's this freight train that's now set his sights on her because she's yelling.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I mean. Yeah, but she wouldn't be there in the first place if she'd just gotten her hormones under control.
Exactly. I mean, and again, it's not like she's like 16 and rebelling against daddy. She's like 27.
Yeah.
She is 27, but she's also wearing a belly shirt that's broached.
Yeah. And she gets grounded at one point, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
she? her
Yeah,
dad
I
ground
feel
her?
like they don't really, they haven't really nailed how old these characters are supposed to be. Like, definitely the actress is not a teenager.
No, not at all.
And I think we kind of discussed at in the first episode of this that we're not entirely sure how long this is supposed to take place after the events of Part 5. But it's safe to assume that Tommy is probably in his early to mid-20s. So I guess they figure once that actor was cast, they couldn't put somebody, a teenage actress, as his love interest, but yet didn't age up the character herself. So she comes off very much like just this kind of tantrumy teen rebel who should be wearing a t-shirt that says, you laugh at me because I'm different, I laugh at you because you're all the same. One of those types of people.
That is very specific, Gene.
I know. I was like, did you
what I'm
have this
talking
t-shirt
about.
as a kid?
The small town, bad girl who is bored, but she knows she can't get in trouble because her daddy's the sheriff. I feel like in a different kind of movie, she would have been like a Sharon Stone type character who gets into progressively crazier and crazier situations because she gets some weird fetish out of it.
Yeah, she definitely likes to live dangerously. I mean, we get that from the car chase set to Alice Cooper's Rock and Roll Summer. I'll put it underneath us right now, and you'll hear how rockin' it is. It's definitely the thumpiest, most traditional rock song in the entire thing, and that's counting Teenage Frankenstein's Monster. And so we're supposed to get the idea that she is really the bandit to her father's Smokey. And so they concoct, well, I say they, Megan concocts a plan to get Tommy out of jail. She signals this to him via her sketchbook. At first he says no, then he agrees to say yes, and this involves Tommy insulting her artwork to the point where she gets angry, throws her sketchbook, and then they begin a long, very well mic'd kiss between jail bars.
Yeah, that was juicy.
And then we get to see each of theirs reactions to it, where they take turns going, is this really happening? Am I really making out with this person that I just met through jail bars? Yes. Not only that, a camera has captured it. So congratulations. Finally, this wakes up Deputy Rick Cologne, who then goes to break this up, and they pull what can only be described as a Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid maneuver on him, grab his gun.
He's got this like Terminator gun, which is like, why does a small town sheriff need a gun with a laser sight?
Boredom.
It just reminded me so much of that iconic scene in the Terminator when he's pointing the laser sight at her in the bar. It's just like, why do you have a gun like that? You're in this sleepy little town, and now I get that this is a sleepy little town where 87 people or so have been killed at some point, but they seem cool. They're convinced that it's all over and nothing ever need to be worried about again. But why do you have this super high tech gun?
If I had to guess, Rick Cologne is worried about the size of his penis and
Yeah.
would like to make up for it with this mail order laser sight that makes his gun very, very heavy, to the point at which Megan has to hold it awkwardly with two hands, like she's offering up wine to a patron at a restaurant. Like, you ordered the Bordeaux, correct?
It does look really heavy in her hands.
Yeah, most people would, and I'm not a gun expert, believe it or not. Most people would brace their other hand by holding the underside of it. And in an effort to solidify your connection to the gun so you shoot straighter because there's a lot of kickback. She's holding the underside of it like she's guiding it into something.
She's probably still in shock from the awful kiss that her and what's his name just had, because that kiss was so gross. Like
she's probably thinking I went through all this shit and this guy can't even give a decent kiss.
I know, it is the worst looking kiss.
Better from here? Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's been locked up at a psychiatric hospital. Yeah, there's not a lot of
that's legitimate.
Not a lot of experience with the smooching.
That's what if she's his first kiss?
Oh, that is true.
That she might be his first kiss.
It's her or Ron Palillo.
Oh,
we don't know.
I think
maybe
Ron
that's
Palillo,
the way Ron taught him how to kiss.
I think Ron Palillo just kind of has the pillow that he called Tommy.
Oh, probably.
Can't blame him. He's just smoking hot.
He's pretty dreamy.
But this is the moment on The Bachelor when the two people kiss and you're kind of like, oh, he's going home. They're trying to telegraph with these big googly eyes that, love smacked them in the butt. But we can also hear it, and it doesn't sound like that at all.
Ugh. That's so gross.
But that being said, Rick gets the table turned on him. He ends up inside of a jail cell, which actually saves his life. Otherwise, he probably would have been called to the scene at Camp Forest Green and would have ended up DEAD dead like everyone else. But no, he's locked up and he probably found himself a brand new job as the sheriff of Forest Green as a result of this. You're welcome, Rick.
Congratulations.
Rocketing to the top of the Forest Green police station hierarchy.
So they take off. He tries to dispel Megan yet again from accompanying him on this particular journey. Don't go with me. This is actually dangerous. I need to confront an undead serial killer of which you are completely unprepared. Also, Tommy is unprepared. Outside of the 3 books he picked up at the roadside Barnes and Noble on how to deal with undead serial killers. And she relinquishes control of her Camaro so that he can take the driver's seat. And we're supposed to go, oh, see, she believes him. And I'm like, up until this point, she's told him, get in the fucking passenger seat and like it. And that's what I liked about her. And I don't like her ceding control of her car. It's her fucking car.
Well, when you lock lips like that, she's probably got a little weak in the knees and now just gonna go along with whatever he says.
Yeah.
It could be that the genes have cut off circulation to her knees. They're very tight. And we see all the parts of them in this movie, which is something I completely blocked out. Even during our last episode, we never really talked about the fact that we see her crotch while driving not once, but twice. Like, it was, if you thought it was good the first time, wait till you see it the second.
Yeah, I think it occurred to them. It's like, oh, we don't have enough little eye candy for the gentleman in the audience. Maybe have a couple crotch shots in these impossibly tight jeans.
But here's some jean crotch shots. I can't believe that would be like, hey, awesome to anybody. Is that a turn on? Here's some crotch shots of jeans.
Oh, if you're asking is this a turn on the internet? The answer is yes.
Okay, that wasn't. I meant for teenage boys at the time. Would that have been oh, it's a girl's crotch? It's through jeans though. It wasn't the slip of an upskirt or something like that. But
I know I'm not alone in this, but I once masturbated to a Sears catalog, so I'm going to tell you right now that a teenage boy's imagination can take him a very far distance.
All right, I believe it. You're right. I don't know that was a silly question to even ask.
Well, I think the fact that it's clothed makes it somehow a little less scandalous, and you feel a little less guilty about it later.
Yeah. And she does make those great jokes of like,
That's right.
you know, his head gets rammed in there and she was like, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, she seems like someone who wouldn't be entirely too upset if you told her that you masturbated over thoughts of her jeaned crotch and in lascivious close up in a movie. She'd be like, I think she'd be like high-fiving you for that.
I just like had a really visual thought of like somebody coming up to you and just being like, hey, one time I masturbated to the thought of your crotch and jeans. Like, the awkwardness of that conversation.
It
like,
probably
I
won't
can
get you a lot of swipes on Tinder.
I don't know why it's tickling me so much, but it is.
Yeah, they take off like a bat out of hell. We then cut to Camp Forest Green, where we re-meet up with our poor camper, Nancy. Nancy is in yet another bad dream situation where Jason has now entered the cabin and is peering over her bed. She then prays the Jason away with the Lord's Prayer. And yet another nod to Nightmare on Elm Street, because we just can't stop doing it. We can't stop commenting on Nightmare on Elm Street. We just have to say it until it goes away.
I do like that in this scene, it looks like the hamsters are scared because that they're huddled together in their in their little spinny wheel thing. Like, it gives a shot to the hamsters and look, they're even scared. They're huddling together. The hamsters are scared of Jason as well.
They cower and quake in his presence.
Exactly. And it again made me scared that he was just going to like grab one of them and throw it against the wall or something like that.
Crush it like a plum.
Yeah, I thought he was going to like scare the little girl by like taking these hamsters and, well, not eating them because he doesn't really show his mouth, but something.
Oh, that would have been hilarious if he just kind of popped one in his mouth.
Just lifts the mask a little.
These little hamster feet just kind of sticking out of it. Or like in V, he just like opens his mouth really wide, just drops the hamster in there.
Yes, I'm into it.
I wouldn't put it past him.
I feel like he's sort of staring at this little girl like he doesn't know what a child is. He just seems like this is a small human. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Also, in this scene, Jason has a really good butt. I just want to bring that up. I know that there was some talk about how the fat Jason got fired, but Trim Jason has a really good butt. I'm just going to put that out there.
Listen, I ain't gonna yuck your yum.
He walks a lot, you know? I mean,
yeah.
he gets a lot of power walking in those
Exactly.
woods, and he's lifting bodies like sacks potatoes. He's getting that Ivan Drago natural workout.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel, in these movies, women usually get objectified. It's time for Jason to get a little objectified, and that's what I'm here for.
I agree.
I think this is the moment where we really start looking at Jason in terms of a sexual being.
In the scene where he's with a little girl might be a little wrong, but yeah.
But that's when you get a full view of that hinder.
It's true. There's a good cutaway shot of it earlier in the film. I can't remember where it was, but I was like, oh, he has a really good butt. Look at that.
Noted.
Add it to Wikipedia.
Oh, the fact that he has a good butt isn't in the Friday the 13th Wikia with all the crazy shit that's ended up in there. It should definitely
It
be
should.
one of the
That's
additions.
what I'm going to do tonight after we're done recording.
Kill. Break.
Hey everyone, it's Dick,
And Max,
the hosts of Off the Cuffs, a kink and BDSM podcast.
a podcast for those in the lifestyle and those who are curious about it.
Each week we sit down with a different guest to discuss their radioactive spider bite into kink,
And it gives everybody a chance to express themselves in matters of sexuality.
and a platform in which to express it.
It's conversational, it's educational, and it's a lot of fun.
More and more people have been reaching out to us telling us what they've learned about themselves just from us sharing our stories with each other every week.
So find Off the Cuffs on iTunes or your favorite podcast streaming service.
And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OCPKink.
Kill. Break. The only thing that calls off our well-rounded Jason Voorhees from experimenting more with small children is the car doors of the sheriff's car and two other deputies who look like, I don't know that they're his deputies. They might be county mounties because they have blue uniforms and he has a tan one. But I'm just assuming that to be true.
It's a pretty small force to show up and at a place that has been known for disturbances. Let's say it happened before. Yeah. I'm a little boggled that 3 people would show up.
So I don't know why they're wearing darker hued blue uniforms rather than what the Sheriff Garris is wearing. I couldn't tell you. It's just something that is. Maybe they didn't plan it. Who knows? We're not told. Here's what we do know. Sheriff Garris tells them to basically spread out. We don't want to wake the kids. We want to find the counselors and figure out what's going on. While this happens, Thornton notices that Pappas, the guy with the mustache, is admiring his own hair in the reflection of the car window. It tells him, "Come on, handsome." And this then signals Officer Pappas' death later on, as this film is very wont to do. Sheriff Garris comes into the counselor's cabin, and it is painted with blood. So we can only imagine what happened to Paula, because we don't really see any signs of violence beyond the blood.
Yeah, the blood-spattered bowl of popcorn was a nice touch.
Yeah. I like that one.
We then get Deputy Thornton investigating down by the docks. For some reason, he likes to shine his flashlight down at the dock as if all the answers will be in the slats in between. I'm not sure what he's looking for at his feet, but you can see that pretty well. In fact, you can see almost everything pretty well. It's lit up like a fucking candle.
Yeah, with those crazy lamps, though, that, is it a hurricane season? They're, just bashing back and forth like crazy people.
Yeah, we've not been able to establish, again, we've not been able to establish when this takes place in relation to the earlier movies. There also seems to be some confusion as to what time of year this takes place.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be summer camp, presumably, in New Jersey. And many times the characters complain about how cold they are. Yeah. And I keep falling back on I grew up in the New Jersey Pine Barrens, close to where this is supposed to take place. It ain't cold in summertime. It is hot. It is humid. It is filled with green. If they should be complaining about anything, it's greenheads and mosquitoes. And not walking around showing their breath and wearing 3 layers of clothing.
It does get very stormy in New Jersey during the summer. I mean, that is the
but
one
not
place
cold,
I've
but not
ever...
cold though.
No. New Jersey is the one place that I was at where I saw the sky turn green before a rainstorm.
Oh yeah, it gets to spectacular storms, but mostly because it's so unbearably humid.
Yeah.
I mean, all I could think is this some sort of outward bound camp for very small children that they make them go in February because what it said is most bleak and uncomfortable.
But we don't get any rainfall. We've sort of exhausted that. We've only had one rain incident in this entire thing, which is kind of a Friday the 13th thing. A lot of rainstorms. Not so much here. Thornton continues to examine the ground around the dock for no particular reason. When he's then finally raises his flashlight, passes by a tree, and Jason pulls what looks to be either an arrowhead or a throwing knife out of his Batman utility belt that he got from Rob Liefeld in the 90s. And he throws that knife straight into Thornton's forehead. Thwang, right above the eye. That is a lot of pressure and force on a knife to throw it through someone's skull. So again, now Jason Voorhees is the Hulk.
And knocks him over. It's so hard that it goes through his skull and knocks him off the dock.
I sort of feel like this might have been a callback to Vera's death in part 3.
For sure. I mean, they love to comment on their previous murders. This, I suppose, is... You remember how cool that was? Well, now he can throw a knife to the point where he knocks someone over with the force of its impact. And then for the rest of this, we're going to get body manipulation deaths. Yeah. Which, outside of the head squeeze in part 3, were there a lot of other body manipulation deaths that we've seen? Certainly not in part 5. No. Roy doesn't have super strength.
No, these are pretty grody too.
They're pretty extreme. So the sheriff goes in, finds the kids. They appear to be asleep. The hamsters still disturbed.
You don't recover from that.
They're jumping up and down and squeaking like Lassie. And telling him, he's right over there. He's right over there.
He doesn't listen. He notices that Nancy has left her bed, though. That is the one thing we know. So he's now on the search for a loose kid. Pappas, meanwhile, he's not staring at the ground with his flashlight. No, he's kept it above ground. He looks at a lot of bushes. He takes out his service revolver, which is a smart thing at this point. He tries to calmly... I think he believes that he's probably up against someone of Tommy Jarvis 3.0's weight, that he can take him. And then Jason comes out and scares the living hell out of him. Pappas shoots him 6 times square in the chest. That is a lot of shots to the chest.
He doesn't even flinch, barely.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
this is not...
The little girl comes out first and, like, scares him.
So you think that he's going to shoot her, and then, ha ha ha!
I didn't shoot you, little blonde girl.
Like, if that had been anybody, I'm surprised he didn't just, like, whack her over the head with his flashlight. That's what I probably would have done.
Damn it, kid!
Just by accident, just by accident, by reflex, like, you're going to turn around and be like, rah!
Yeah, these aren't very competent police officers,
No,
really.
this is true. Yeah. But he does take a bunch of shots to the chest.
Well, he's standing right in front of the target. It's not like it doesn't take a ton of skill here because Jason is all of 2 feet away from him. If he doesn't hit him 6 times in the chest, it would be an even bigger problem.
True.
But he gets head squeezed to death, R.I.P.D. Officer Pappas. But we don't really see a lot of gore from it. It's just something that happens off camera, which is super weird because only, 3 movies ago, we had an eye popping out at the audience.
Yeah, I'm consistently surprised throughout watching this. I was consistently surprised throughout watching this how really not terribly gory it is. I mean, Sissy's death is pretty gross, and I feel like hers and Sheriff Garris are kind of like the ones that everybody. There's always like 1 or 2 that people who they only seen the movie once remember. But for some reason, I remember was it Nikki in the RV? Mm-hmm. My memory, I think I was conflating it with the one from part 4. With Doug getting his face smashed into the side of the bathroom wall. Yeah. But I mean, but Nikki's was just like, I mean, for having her face pressed into, a sheet metal wall, there was no blood. It was very, very strange. And again, I mean, even Sissy's death was more just the effect of, her head coming off rather than being super bloody.
Yeah, these are like magic trick deaths. Where the trick is we're gonna show death in a very non-bloody way. There must have been a real MPAA feel like, if we give them a super gory movie, we're not going to get an R. Because almost all of these deaths are illusions where you see the least amount of impact or incision or blood as possible. There's a lot of, in the previous episode, we had Paula dying basically by, shadow. Sissy, her head comes off and it's not lit. The only thing you're seeing is the shadows of it. Yeah, they must have been really scared the MPAA was going to give them an X.
Yeah, my thought
and then by the time that you get to Jason Goes to Hell, then they just completely go off the rails with the blood and the gore to the point where it becomes like really comically over the top.
And I think that was a weirdly different era. I mean, we're at the point in pop culture where the idea of putting warnings on music on albums has come to light, where the satanic panic has become a bigger thing than just your local PTA, where the Senate has now, brought this panel to bear to ask musicians about their lyrics. So everyone's really scared. And yet, Nightmare on Elm Street, pretty gory stuff. But I think because it's fantastical, they were allowed to get away with it. Whereas here, while he's an undead zombie. He's still just a guy using implements to kill people, and I guess Friday the 13th had a target on their back.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, it's been a while since I rewatched this movie, and I just, again, I guess conflating it with so many others that I'd seen from the same era. I was like, and yet somehow I think that the kind of leaving it up to your imagination is somehow worse.
And I think it also has to do with, like, this movie has, like, a lighthearted air to it. Like, there's so many, like, winks at the audience throughout it. So it kind of would almost feel really strange to actually see 3 heads getting beheaded all at once. You know, like, to see the knife going through everything. Like, that might have been too weird of a contrast for
yeah, I mean, certainly.
Filming.
Yeah, I certainly it would have been a little. It's very hard to do horror comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not every movie can be like An American Werewolf in London, where it balances being really funny and then a minute later something horrifying is happening on screen. I think they were more interested in trying to make something that was a little fun for the fans. We want to show you our appreciation, so we're going to keep referencing earlier movies so that you get the winks we're tossing in your direction.
There is one section we do see the end result of Pappas's death. Sheriff Garris trips over his feet and falls right beside Pappas, and this is the first time we've ever seen a head crush where snot has come out of someone's nose.
Oh, God.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, the green is coming right out of his nose.
I assumed, I mean, my thoughts went that it went right to its brains.
It could very well be.
Yeah,
that's what they're
I don't know.
alluding to, too.
I don't know if
it
it's.
was.
I mean, I don't know if it's possible that the person's head could be turned to mush that much. But hey, you know what? There's a lot of things Jason can suddenly do that he wasn't able to do before. So
yeah. Or he hawked a loogie on top of his face, which seems kind of
just disrespectful. Come on, this is a lawman. Show some respect.
Really. Like,
He shook some of his maggots on him. It is grody.
So it does get a little bit gross, but again, that's an end result thing. They have no problem showing blood as an end result, but it doesn't really occur in the action of itself, and that's got to be some sort of edict. So this is the moment where Sheriff Garris then faces off against Jason. We see how fucking tall Jason is. He looks like a giant right now. A trim giant, not one of your husky giants like we saw before. And we see how many things are on his belt. Garris lets loose with a shotgun. He peels off 3 different shotgun blasts on Jason. That doesn't work. He pulls out a service revolver, nails him a couple times, including one headshot, which does Jack and or shit, and Jack just left town. After that, he throws his gun to the ground, which is probably my favorite part in this whole movie. He's like, well, that's fucking useless, and runs.
Yeah, for a split second, I thought he was going to throw the gun down, just take some kind of karate stance or something like that.
Well, they do end up having a physical fight later on. I mean, let's cut to the chase here. Tommy Jarvis 3.0 and Megan ride into town. He's got a sack full of chain. He finds a heavy rock and somehow manages to get that rock to a boat through a series of jump cuts.
Yeah, I'm dubious that he was able to get that rock onto a boat by himself.
Yeah, he could barely pick it up to roll it.
I'm surprised it didn't sink the boat right away.
I was gonna say, I should just it should have been like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Just he puts the boat there, just like just goes immediately sinks to the bottom of the lake.
No, it's the tension element of it. This is the bomb underneath the table, because they tell you right away, like, that boat can't hold that rock. And then it keeps going and going and going throughout the rest of the movie to the point where the rock does fall through the boat. So this is a thing, like, this director knows how to set things up and pay them off. It's such a higher level than some of the other films that are either haphazardly scary or haphazardly competent. This is strongly competent. He knows exactly what kind of movie he wants to give the audience, and he sets about delivering that movie to the audience with a ruthless efficiency.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's you don't want to think about whether or not Tommy could actually do this. So it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go with it. This is fine. I accept what is happening in front of me.
Yeah. And then Megan then discovers the bloody cabin. Then Megan then discovers the kids all huddled together. There's a lot of cat and mouse going on here, where people yell and Jason gets distracted and he can only head in one direction at a time. What is this where Jason will only listen to one person at a time?
Yeah, he's very easily distracted.
Yeah.
He's very much like a dog in that regard. He'll just be staring at something and he'll hear like a sound in the distance. He's like, what? And then just immediately turns away and forgets what he was doing before.
It's really, for a creature who up until this point has been able to, show some craftiness in that he was able to distract a drunk with a rock.
He's a single-minded he's a single-minded killing machine that could be distracted by pretty much by somebody all but snapping their fingers at him.
Speaking of distraction techniques, we also discover Sissy's head has been placed inside of a police vehicle in yet another edition of Jason Voorhees' interior-exterior decorator.
I think that's the only one. Is it the only one she discovers?
As far as I'm aware, that and Sheriff Garris tripping over Deputy Pappas are the only two surprise you discovered a body moments in the movie.
Yeah, she also just kind of goes into the bloody room and is like, "What? Everything's blood." And that's kind of about it. But yeah,
we don't really get any. We don't get any bodies falling out of trees, and really outside of Paula, she's the only person forced through a window, so at least that trend continues. Jason Voorhees hates windows. Well established at this point.
Oh yeah, just window, gotta break it.
Yeah, it shouldn't stand. It's God should not allow it, and so I will destroy it for him. So we get one head pop out, and then Megan starts screaming her head off. This attracts the attention of Jason Voorhees, but wouldn't you know it, Dad Sheriff Garris is in the woods and he's not having any of it. No, not her, he yells. And then he begins to have a physical fight with zombie Jason Voorhees. This includes, I might add, one wicked headshot with some sort of cord of wood or a 2x4 that has Shaw Brothers dust on it, so you get that impact.
I thought he was hitting him on the head with a rock or something.
Oh, that comes after.
Oh, okay, my bad.
There's a couple moves. He tackles him from behind because he's a hero. He kicks him in the gut because he's a cop. He whacks him in the side of the head with a 2x4. And then he gives him a head noggin to the face mask. And that is the impetus that Jason uses to fold Sheriff Garris in half.
Oh God, I still looked away from this one.
I don't think I realized that he folded him in half until this second watching of it, and I was like, wait, is his arms are by his feet. That's not natural.
I know.
In a backwards way. I didn't get it the first time. I was like, how did he kill him? Because it's so dark.
It is. Again, we get a lot of shadow play here.
Yeah.
I think that's the way they got away with what it could be a very grisly death. But the way it's presented is it's a magic trick, and the crunching noises are the things that really set it apart. That's how you can.
What's worse, the person being folded the wrong way in this one, the also a sheriff or sheriff's deputy, if I recall, being folded the wrong way in the Blob, or the guy being folded in the cot in Freddy vs. Jason.
I think this one is the best magic trick out of all of them. Although the Blob has some of the best magic tricks I've ever seen in camera. If you have not watched the 80s remake of The Blob, I don't know what you're doing.
Oh,
Pause this podcast and go watch it now.
It's fucking great.
It's the best. Despite the presence of a horrid Dylan in the lead role, everything else about the movie is fantastic.
You know, you were talking about that, and I have not seen the 80s version. I've only seen the original, and I was like, I don't remember a guy folding in half in the original Blob. That's weird.
Oh no, this will, you know, this ain't your daddy's Blob. I'll just say
that.
And it's all pre-digital effects, and the things they're able to, the kind of gore that they're able to do with it, and the way the Blob moves, it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look right, but it's perfect for the Blob. And oh God, I love that movie. I love it. I love it. Okay. I love it more than this movie, and I really like this movie. So anyways, yeah. Sheriff Garris totes gets folded in half. R.I.P.D. Sheriff Garris. You finally used your power of yelling for good. You saved your daughter's life. She then runs back to camp to huddle children around her in some sort of human shield, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why she's not just loading them up into, you know, there's got to be some sort of, you know, larger vehicle on the premises. It's a camp, so presumably there's a truck of some kind, or I'm not sure why she's just not, you know, taking them all and fleeing in the other direction out of the camp.
I mean, the main reason the barrier between her and the kids originally is Jason Voorhees making a door explode. In typical Jason Voorhees fashion, he then goes out a different door and window. He crashes through 2 doors in a row. That's how he's playing. And then Tommy managed... Oh, well, wait a second. Be the loudest gate in the entire world. Okay. It's okay, Sweet Pea. I'll just edit it out. Thank you. Sorry. Almost done. Okay. So, yeah, he crashes through 2 doors. Then Tommy yells, "Hey, Jason, I'm the one you want." And Jason has this realization. You're right. You are the victim that I want. And it doesn't matter that you're out in the middle of a lake. Hey, did I drown just several movies ago? Yeah. Does everyone keep saying that I drowned, but then somehow I lived, so maybe water might be scary to me? Sure. But in part 4, I swam like fucking a torpedo, and now I don't care. I'm just going to walk from the shore to the boat. He walks. This is the thing that's supposedly going to keep him contained, and he walks into the middle of it. So, my question to you both is, if this is the magic fixer, right, that he's locked in the middle of the lake and he can't get out by a rock, why can he just walk into the middle of it? Why can he maintain his... Why can he keep kicking and stay level with Tommy in a boat like he's in a synchronized swimming contest?
Well, he goes underwater at one point, but there's not that much, like, once he's under, yeah, I don't know, that part was confusing. I'm like, well, he's not gonna drown, like...
Yeah, the top of his head should be, like, maybe 2 or 3 inches under the water.
Yeah, and it kind of is near the boat, but only, like, it's only a couple inches, not, like, a couple feet like you would want. And then for the rest of, like, humanity, like... What, camp kids are just going to swim around this floating body, like, sitting on a rock for the rest of the time? It's not a well thought out plan, I don't think.
Yeah, no. I mean, if drought season comes, I mean, they're just going to see that head just, like, floating in the water like a beach ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, all it takes is And this is also assuming that he'll always constantly float. Because the only thing, it's on a cinch. It's like a lasso. So if he were to sink at any point, the lasso would come off his neck, and then he'd be free and clear.
Oh, that's true.
Well, my question is, I mean, in this movie alone, Jason has ripped someone's arm off, twisted someone's head off, and folded a man like a suitcase, or I should say more like a beach chair. How come he ain't breaking through those chains?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be able to snap through those things like clothesline.
I don't know. Does he ever try to kind of yank the chains off? I feel like he's still just trying to, like, kill somebody.
He's still just flailing away at Tommy rather than trying to free himself.
He's mystified by those chains. Like, he doesn't really understand how
he
they
does.
work.
He's suddenly been struck dumb, which he's gone back to his big dumb inbred monster character, whereas before he was this like super stealthy killing machine. Now he's like, what is it? What? I can't move.
Yeah. It's not the perfect scenario. You know what makes it also a bit ludicrous is when Tommy Jarvis 3.0 sets the lake on fire.
Yeah, it's like I'm not sure in any. Tommy should have died at least 3 or 4 different times just in this 5-minute sequence.
Yeah,
I mean, he keeps an open can of gasoline in this thing while the boat's breaking apart and the lake's on fire, and it never comes back around. I just don't know how the lake stays on fire for as long as it does.
I don't get why he set it on fire. Does fire draw Jason out?
He's not going to burn underwater. Physics don't work that way.
It's really
like it's
weird.
a Chuck Norris movie, and if he goes outside of the circle, he loses, the octagon tournament.
I do have the feeling it probably was in this miraculously helpful occult book that he read, that he turned to the page that he needed immediately and explained the situation that he was in and how to fix it just perfectly. But on the other hand, it could be a more simple explanation. I think somebody just thought it would look really cool if Jason leapt out of a lake of fire.
Yeah,
on fire.
They were listening to that Meat Puppet song and said, Lake of Fire, Lake of Fire.
I like it.
I've got it. Let's do this.
Stroke of genius. It also brings to mind that, again, Jason is wearing gloves, and it looks so stupid for him to have gloves on. Like he's in a Ford F-150 commercial.
I thought he was just doing some gardening.
You wouldn't want to get your corpse hands dirty.
No.
He's only been in the ground for several years. He's full of maggots. And so, yeah, he manages to kind of choke drown Tommy. Then the camp counselors go, "Oh, is Tommy dead?" And Megan's like, maybe. I'm going to run down to that lake with my jacket and boots on and jump into it and help him out.
Here's small children. Just stay right here without an adult to protect you.
Yeah, at this point, when
I gotta get my boyfriend.
Listen, you should have smooched this guy through jail cell bars because he will make you do anything. And wouldn't you know it, Jason reaches up and grabs her by her inappropriate boots and starts to yank her down. She has the wherewithal, however, to swim over to the half of the boat that has not sunk and start up the motor ever so slowly. This is not a very tension-filled sequence. This is the unsuccessful sequence in the movie. And then manages to steer that propeller once ignited and steer it straight into Jason's face.
Which I thought it was going to, like, chainsaw. Like, I thought it was going to cut the chains off of him.
Well, if she cuts
while
his
it was
head
happening.
off,
yeah,
he
then
would emerge from the fucking lake.
Yeah, that was the other thought that I had. I'm like, either it's going to cut his chain off or it's going to cut his head off and then you he's just going to reattach his head to his body somehow later on once he gets away from the lake.
Yeah. But he shakes around like he's getting electrified. And chunks of gore come out of him, although we don't really see it. It's just kind of like in shadow. Yeah. And then he goes sleepy time, bye-bye. And I would say R.I.P.D. Jason Voorhees, but we know he comes back. There's just, I guess that book that he picked up at the roadside occult store was true. Because he just fades away.
He just goes into stasis. He has a little nap. Good night, Jason. Good night.
Night night. Sweet dreams. Tommy is revived by Megan pushing on his chest. He doesn't yell, "Live, bitch, that's all you've ever wanted to do," like in The Abyss. It's my favorite save a drowning victim scene of all time.
Just cursing at them.
Yeah, curse at that person. Mm-hmm. Tell them they're a horrible person, and that will make them want to live.
For like 10 minutes. And then...
Oh, my God. So many people drown in that movie. Okay. And, yeah, then they hug one another, and, yeah, that's it. We get a day later shot of the lake during the daytime, and Jason's there, and maybe he flinches a little.
Yeah, he opens his eye.
Yeah. I still thought that this movie was all a build-up for, like, the little girl to become, like, a new horror, like, Jason type person. Like,
they tried that for the last 2 movies, and it didn't take.
Oh, is it the same little girl, or is it... Oh. Oh, you mean
no,
like...
No,
I see what you're saying. Never mind. I know what you're saying. Like, they tried to make a different character, Jason.
Yeah, like part
Tommy,
4.
basically.
Part 4 had kind of a fake out ending where little Corey Feldman is apparently you're supposed to think he inherited the mantle of evil. Now I don't know that they were necessarily setting up the lore of Jason Goes to Hell, in which apparently it is something that you can pass around from person to person, like movie, was it Fallen, where the Hidden. Yeah, well, I think that was that one too. There was Hidden, and there was the movie Fallen, where all you had to do was touch someone.
Oh yeah,
and you could pass on your evil from person to person. I don't know if they were necessarily hinting, because I don't think that these people really planned that far ahead when creating these movies. But that was certainly the first indicator that this was something that one could pass around like a cold, and that even though you've just seen this person presumably murder your mother and nearly murder your sister, suddenly it occurs to you, hey, you know what? I kind of like what this guy's selling. I think I'm going to try it.
Yeah, so there we go. That's Friday the 13th, part 6, y'all. Jason lives and kind of continues to in the lake. And we'll see him next time. Jason will return. And this brings us once again to everyone's favorite game show that listens exclusively to the game show someone plays at the end of a podcast episode. And that is Choose Your Own Deathventure, where we're going to decide which death of those presented in this section of the movie we would choose if we were forced to. And so our choices are thus: a spike or arrow or knife to the forehead, having your head crushed to the point where snot comes out, or brain, we're not sure which, being folded in half like a beach chair, or being drowned by having a chain around your neck and a rock, and then you just kind of go sleepy time, bye-bye. And so, Wendy, as our guest, I turn to you first. Your answer, please.
Oh, this one's kind of a rough one, because now, do you get the ability to come back if you die like Jason, or you're just dead?
You're just dead.
All right, fudge, because I don't want to drown, so never mind. I kind of think there's a bit of charm to how the sheriff dies. I feel like it would be a quick, instant death, and at least you knew you went down fighting. Mm-hmm. So I would like to think that I would see Jason going after someone, or like if he was going after my cat or something, I'd be like, no, not him, and like go attack Jason. And then if he folded me like a chair, I'd be like, well, at least I went out protecting the one that I love.
I've had a good run.
I had a good run.
The only point of contention here is that you would also have to sport his mustache.
All right, I can deal with that.
Okay, that's fine. It's a hell of a mustache. All right, Gina, I look to you now. What say you?
Yeah, man, that sheriff's death always freaked me out. Just the crunching and the even suggested brutality of it. I can't do that to myself. I'm gonna have to take the knife and or dart and or arrow, whatever the hell it is, to the head, and and then I fall into a boat, and I presumably just peacefully float off to my doom. Maybe my boat would have caught on fire, and I would have gotten a Viking's funeral.
Sure. I was gonna choose that one too because I liked how originally you had chosen the death where the character fell into the coffin to save your family some money, and my thought was the boat would be another good way to for your family to save money because they could just light it on fire and give you the Viking stuff.
But if you were folded in half too, that would also save some money.
Yeah, because you can get a kid's casket, and those have got to be cheaper.
Jesus.
I wouldn't know, and
true.
I hope I never find out.
I like that we're all choosing the thrifty death.
We know the value of $1.
Exactly.
We're all very hard workers. In this economy, you cannot afford to not cut costs.
Listen, I'm dead. I don't care. Do what you want with me. I'm dead. Who cares?
We have established that my only need for my funeral is that Candy by Cameo be played. Everything else is up for grabs. Gina, again, you've read my mind. I'm also going to go with the arrow/knife to the forehead death, primarily because then I get to do that awesome John Ritter like fall into the boat, because that's a beautiful piece of stunt work, and I really enjoy it. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of yet another Kill by Kill podcast. Hey, Wendy, where can people find out more about you?
Hey. So as you mentioned earlier, I have a podcast called Pet Cinematary. People can check that out on iTunes or Podbean or wherever you find podcasts these days. You can also follow me on Twitter at Pet Cinematary. And then also on Instagram, there's a Facebook page, all kinds of good stuff.
Cool. Check it out, people. Hey, Gina, where can people find you on the internets?
I write about 70s and 80s television at tuneintonight.wordpress.com.
Do it now, people. Hey, do you want to talk to us? There's a couple different ways to do it. You can find us on Twitter at KillByKillPod, or if you have something to say that might be beyond 140 characters, email us. KillByKillPod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at KillByKillPodcast. And would you do us a favor, please? If you like the show, even if you just kind of like the show, do me a solid. Rate and review us on iTunes. I know every podcast asks you to do it, but only I am asking you to do it with my whole and entire heart. If you do that and tell us what your favorite death is in a movie that we've covered, primarily the Friday the 13th series, we will read it here on the air. That is our pledge to you, the listener. And this is the end of Friday the 13th, Part 6. We will be coming back with a special, people. It's our anniversary time, and we're going to do something that we've wanted to do from the very beginning. I want you to buckle up, because this is going to be one hell of a ride. The long-term killers will know what it is. Newer listeners, you might not be aware of it, but I promise you, this is going to be a good time. And that does it for us here at the Kill by Kill podcast. We will see you next time for Wendy and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kill by Kill is produced by We Write Good and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Friday the 13th is owned by Paramount Pictures. Jason is owned by New Line Cinema. No infringement is intended. Kill by Kill logo was designed by Josh Hollis. Visit him at joshhollis.com. The Kill by Kill theme was created exclusively for us by Revenge Body. Get the whole track and much, much more at revengebodymemphis.bandcamp.com today.